back to my channel, or if you're a newcomer, welcome to my channel. D Square here with another Uncanny X-Men comic review. We're continuing on with issue number 15. Here, of course, is the variant comic cover, and of course I have provided the actual original cover there on screen for you right here. So, and by the way, thank you so much for the great owner of Comics Argo in Elyria, Ohio, for providing with a variant comic. And thank you, my good friend, Mr. Alfredo Rodriguez Perez, for providing the new intro music. Hope everyone is enjoying. As always, we will start with a spoiler-free review. Then I will move in and provide some more details for you that could be considered spoilers. So, make sure that if you're not looking for spoilers, to kind of bail and come back once I'm done with the spoiler-free review. So number 15 here, like I mentioned in my other video, I was expecting possibly maybe some sort of conclusion, as this is basically the 6th issue of this story arc, and conclusions are normally around that 4 to 6 mark. But that is not the case. So there are some further development that this issue goes through. You get to see some really interesting stuff. As you might remember, for the last couple of issues, we saw that Hope Summers was in league with the Mutant Liberation Front, and we also saw that Captain America came to the bar that the X-Men are using as their hideout to discuss things with Cyclops, and we all know how that ended last time. So we do get some more details about those two items. We get to really see the X-Men, who, again, aren't killing anyone and are taking prisoners and are now using a bar as their base. We get to see them dealing with some logistics problems. So that's interesting, because, again, they're taking prisoners, but they're in a bar. How is that working out? We get to see a little bit more development with Dark Beast, as you may recall in previous issues. We saw the Dark Beast almost considering himself an X-Men and trying to actually gain the rest of the X-Men's trust. So we get to see a little bit more of that here. In fact, we kind of see a major development in that area. So we get to see some great Wolverine moments. I was kind of waiting for some of those. I mean, Wolverine is certainly very heavily involved in this storyline. Not the leader, but certainly in this issue, we do get to see some really cool Wolverine moments. Overall, it's a great issue. Some great development. They're exploring some cool ideas here, and it's really gotten me excited to see how this is all going to pan out. Well, what's really interesting here is there's not really again, we're like 6 or 5 issues, depending on whether you count the first annual issue. We're 5 to 6 issues into this arc, and there's really not like this overall arcing bad guy. So it's going to be interesting to see how this is going, because so far the Mutant Liberation Front is the closest thing we have to, protagonist versus villain here. So interesting to see if something pops up right at the end. Definitely an interesting issue, though. Very cool. Some really good writing, some really good artwork. We get to see a heavily battle damaged Wolverine, and that looks cool. And we get to see some really good character development. So definitely pick this one up and read through it. I think you will definitely enjoy. Alright, so we're going to go now with some more spoiler material in 3, 2, 1, spoiler time. Okay, so this issue starts off by showing us Dark Beast kind of talking to Mirage. And turns out that Mirage, Prestige, Wolfsbane, and Magic are all infected with something called, this techno-virus, okay? And that's why Mirage and, what's her face here, because I always forget, but I know it's Mirage and Karma. Sorry, Mirage and Karma, they're infected with this virus, and they kind of act strange. The Dark Beast is noticing this and kind of offers to help. And then they kind of leave it at that. And that's when this issue picks up with where, Steve Rogers comes in. Now, what is interesting to note here is that Steve Rogers is actually offering to help. He's, telling Cyclops, listen, I respect you. I'm not here to tell you what to do, but you can't keep on going like this. And we know you're taking prisoners. You can't exactly keep these prisoners in a bar basement. So, showing signs of respect, showing signs that he wants to help. It is ultimately refused by Cyclops, but Steve Rogers, aka Captain America, does hand Cyclops like a card basically and says, hey, if you need / want our help, please give us a call. Then basically once that happens, the X-Men get a tip that, because, they're looking for the Mutant Liberation Front, they're looking for Hope Summers, and they get a tip that they're going to be at this political rally. It's an anti-mutant political rally. There's a political figurehead there. It's a lady, blonde. What is her name? I'll find it for you here real quick. Mrs. Prestel. Mrs. Prestel. So the X-Men go to this rally. And what's funny is, other than Cyclops, they're mostly in costume. They go to this rally. Some trouble gets kind of stirred up, which is obviously going to happen. We're talking about anti-mutant crowd here, basically. They see these mutants, start calling them freaks and all that other stuff. So the crowd starts to get antsy, and so they remove Miss Prestel. Now, when I said the X-Men went there, they all went there, but we only see like the newer ones. We don't see where Wolverine or Scott Summers went. Scott Summers, then they show, once the crowd gets kind of fired up there and they try to remove Miss Prestel, we see that Cyclops has actually located Hope, who's with Banshee and has a sniper rifle trained on this Miss Prestel. Obviously, Cyclops confronts Hope and Banshee, and they get into a conflict. Weird thing about Banshee is he's reanimated. It's something that they actually, and it's not even Dark Beast, like the regular Beast, like reanimated him or something crazy like that, and he's really kind of starting to look skinny and gross. I don't know. It's really kind of weird. I don't know why he's there with Hope Summers, but he is. They basically get into a conflict with Cyclops. Hope ends up shooting Cyclops' eye out. Okay? At first you think he's dead. He's shot in the head. He falls. But Wolverine comes, to the scene right away after that, and is pissed, to see what Hope did to Cyclops. Interesting note about Hope Summers, for those of you who don't know, her mutant powers is the fact that she can take mutant powers from other mutants that are near her. So once Wolverine starts to confront her, she unleashes on him with an optic blast, because she was just near Cyclops. By the way, kind of her grandfather. And that was an interesting dynamic, because obviously there was some dialogue before she shot Cyclops. She's upset about Cable being dead. Cyclops tries to level with her and say, hey, listen, I know he was your dad, he was my son. But yeah, it doesn't work out. She shoots him. Her and Wolverine have a confrontation. And then, here's that battle damage I was talking about. And you see Wolverine, he gets up. You can basically see his skull, his chest cavity. That pisses him off. And so he jabs Hope Summers. Now, interesting note is before Wolverine goes to confront Hope, he lets her shoot this Miss Prestel. And he's like, I don't give a damn about that politician, but you just took out Cyclops, so now you've got to die. And proceeds to do that, although she doesn't die. It turns out she and the rest of the Mutant Liberation Front are taken prisoner, so they shove the Mutant Liberation Front in the basement. The Dark Beast is able to save Scott Summers' life, but he is now missing an eye. And they discover that Hope Summers must have taken on a little healing factor from Wolverine, because she ended up surviving this incident. Oddly enough, she's not in the basement with the Mutant Liberation Front. She's in the next room resting. And that's where they kind of leave that, with Hope. But then what is discovered once Scott Summers, comes, back, I don't want to say life, but becomes conscious again, he discovers that Beast that was allowed to do experiments on Karma and Mirage. This upsets Scott Summers, but, he goes to like fire up his optic blast to like, you know, hit the Dark Beast with it, but it causes him tremendous pain. And this is where the Dark Beast reminds him, like, yeah, did I forget to mention, I may have saved your life, but your skull is basically trying to keep itself together, and one stray optic blast is basically going to decapitate yourself. But the situation is cooled after that because they discover that the Dark Beast was able to take the virus out of Wolfsbane, out of Magic, out of Karma, out of Mirage. And he explains that it's actually not really an infection so much, but it was more of a parasite. And it's a parasite that needs a host. And they also discover that this parasite is actually, you may remember this character named Warlock, kind of like a robot, freaky looking dude. But that's the last thing you see is how he cured them was they found a new host for this parasite, which was one of Jamie Madrox's copies. And now that all the infection has gone to that one copy, we start to see that this copy is now starting to look like Warlock, although asking for someone to kill him. So yeah, I mean, really cool stuff. Nothing definitely conclusive. I mean, they bagged the mutant liberation front. They've got them in the basement. They've got them bagged. But, you know, now they've got Hope, who is injured but with them. Beast, Dark Beast, just, you know, now the Warlock character or some version of him is now on a Jamie clone. So it's like, okay, what's going to happen next? Because I'm not seeing a conclusion here. I'm really not seeing the threat. I know there's just a giant list that the X-Men have that Cyclops made, but, you know, really what's going to happen from here on out? So, like I said, I thought we'd be coming to a conclusion, but really I don't see anything concluding, and I just get the impression they're just going to continue down the list. But, you know, how many issues can this arc be? We'll see. But it's good stuff. I mean, wasn't conclusive, but was still good stuff. So definitely have me excited for the next issue. Uncanny X-Men number 16 will be out here in a couple weeks, and I'll be sure to review it with you and break it down. So thank you all very much. Please like and subscribe my channel. If you're enjoying the content, hit the notification bell to make sure you know when I upload any videos. I'd love to see some comments and interact with you. You can tweet at me at dsquare72 on Twitter. So would love to interact. Please share on your social media. That would be a great help in helping me to grow. All right, guys. Well, that is where we are going to end it for today. Thank you, and see you next time on the next D Square video.